Hi, today I'm going to be showing you the Kanger T2 changeable coil Clearomizer, also known as the eGo changeable coil Clearomizer. This is a electronic cigarette adapter that you can use. It's a combination atomizer and tank system / cartridge. The coils are replaceable, so it's more or less a serviceable component. You can replace the coil on it. Once it starts to burn out, you can clean them, and it's a tank style system, so it holds much more juice than an equivalent cartridge that you normally use in an e-cigarette. So I've got the unit itself here. I'll see if I can get a nice view of this. This is the unit itself in the packaging. I'm just going to take it out of the packaging right away. As you can see, it's got some markings on the side that show you exactly how much it holds. This model holds about 2.4 milliliters. It is marked as such. And due to the design, you can actually fill it close to that mark, or even really all the way up to the top. The top is a proprietary drip tip style, so unlike some other models that are similar, you cannot use your own drip tips. And then it's got a replaceable coil in the middle. I've also got the coil unit or set of cartridges here for the T2. This is basically a little foil blister pack, just like this. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but basically there's a bunch of little replaceable cartridges in here, or coils I should say, so that as they burn out you can replace them. And interestingly enough, the style is actually different of these coils as well as this coil. They actually changed the coil just a little bit, and I'm going to also examine the differences there. I may not actually show it, but basically they made the wicks longer in these, and in this the wicks weren't as long, but it had a little well to try and keep the liquid up in the top. So the idea is, I believe, to maybe make this one require less tipping all the time, but some people, based on some reviews I've seen, prefer the well style, but this supposedly has better flavor. So to each their own. Just be aware that if you buy one, you're more than likely going to end up with the older style coil in the unit and the newer style coil in the replacement cartridges. Then I also have here the eGo C Twist. This is a variable voltage battery. It's just got a little dial at the bottom. You can dial it up between 3.2 and 4.8 volts. And then I've got some e-liquid here. This is just cappuccino flavor. 1.2%, which is my current favorite. And I got this all off of ivape.net, which would be where I currently purchase all of my e-cigarette accessories. I've had no issues with shipping. Prices have been good, and they've been very helpful with all of my orders. So I do highly recommend them for your purchases. Note that I was not given or discounted any of these services or products, and I'm not a representative for the company, so I really have nothing to do with them. But so far, they've been good to me. So to each their own. There are many different vendors out there, and each one I think is probably worth some time spent. But anyway, here I also have my Fluke 87.5 multimeter. I'm going to try and measure the ohms resistance of each of these coils and see exactly what they are. Supposedly this is a low resistance coil, and these are also supposed to be low resistance. I don't know exactly what that means in the case of these Clearomizers. I don't know if it's going to be 1.5, 1.8, 2.0, what, etc. Now, a lot of people typically don't use low res when they're using a adjustable voltage battery, but I started out with low res cartomizers and I enjoyed the hit at the low settings, so I'm going to try it out. I think if I burn these out quickly or I don't like it enough, maybe I'll buy some regular res ones, but I have a feeling this is going to work out fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is take it through the different sections of the Clearomizer itself, and then we'll get down to actually examining specific parts. First, we're going to unscrew the top. As I said, it is a proprietary drip tip. Just a little light twist gets you going. Now, one of the nice features of this unit is that it is metal-to-metal contact. I believe they glue or use an adhesive to affix the plastic tip to the metal ring here, but it is metal-to-metal contact. And then there's a small O-ring here, and that helps keep liquid from seeping past the threads. Now, since it is an O-ring, as you tighten it, it's going to increase in pressure against the threads and give you a better seal. So some may be inclined to tighten the tip quite a bit to try and get a better seal out of worrying about getting drips and whatnot. However, apparently a lot of people have had issues with the tips cracking. When I ordered this, they said that these tips were redesigned and should not crack as easily. However, just based on physics in general, I still would recommend that you don't over tighten it. Just tighten it until you feel the O-ring come into contact, and then maybe another, half to 3/4 turn. And that should be good enough. The liquid itself also will help create a solid seal. Now, after we've got the top unscrewed, you can kind of see in here, there's the atomizer coil cartridge right here. It is removable as well. Just a little bit of a left turn gets us going, and that comes out. And what you're left with is the unit here, which then you don't have to repurchase every time you refill it, etc. This should theoretically not wear out other than through mechanical stress or failure. The battery connection is on the bottom. It does use the larger eGo style connection. There is no 510 connector in here. So you do want to make sure that you have the proper connection for this if you are going to buy one. Make sure you have the right battery or use a sleeve or adapter if necessary. So this is pretty straightforward. I do like it is nicely machined, manufactured. It feels smooth. I don't feel any burrs or rough edges. The threads all look good. The printing looks clear and good. The printing is a little bit redundant. I mean, who really needs to know how many milliliters exactly you have? It's just an eye-based thing, but I think they were doing it to emphasize that it is a full 2.4 milliliters as a sales point. Some people don't like the aesthetic of that. It makes it kind of look like a medical device. Personally, I don't really care, but to each their own. This one is the black style, by the way, which means it's just kind of a smoke. I would almost call it a smoked glass style. So it's not really dark black, it's just darker. I think it looks great. They were sold out of, I think, clear when I got mine, so I got black, and I'm quite happy with the color of it. So let's take a little more close inspection of this itself. So hopefully you can see this, but basically the wicks are tucked into this little cap. And the idea is that this is the top. So as it gets tipped back, well, this is going to go out of focus real bad here, but as it gets tipped back and the liquid comes up, it's going to fall back down into this little cup, and this cup's going to hold a bit of the liquid and help feed the atomizer. So the wicks stay moist, and then you just tilt it again, tilt it into your liquid and back again, and that should keep it moist. There was apparently maybe a problem with this design, or for some reason they changed it on the replaceable cartridges. I don't know why exactly, but let's take a quick look at the replacement cartridges. I'm just gonna pop open one of the blisters here. I'll use a knife, but I suppose I could have done that with my finger. So here is what comes with them now. As you'll see, they no longer have that little cap on there. Now, I did see one reviewer actually migrate the cap from his first one onto one of these, but they did change that. There's this little O-ring rubber band type thing here, and you can see then these wicks come out. So these much longer wicks are part of the modern design. I'm not sure why they did this exactly. It may have been just a parts availability thing. Who knows exactly why. Some people say they like the taste better with this design. Either way, they should both be fully functional. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. Now, the filling procedure itself should be pretty straightforward and shouldn't take much time at all. So before I get into filling it and trying it, I'd like to test the resistance using my multimeter here. So to test this, what I'm going to do is try and isolate the positive and negative leads and see if we can get a reading. I'm assuming it uses the threads as the negative, so I'm just going to turn on my multimeter. And it is automatically set to ohms. And we'll just probe it a little bit, see if we can get a reading. And I am getting a reading about 3.0 ohms. That's pretty high. I definitely would not consider that low resistance. It's It's going up to 4.0, 3.0. Now it's down to 2.0. Okay, so it's bouncing around a bit. It's settled on about 2.0. Let's see if we can get this actually into the camera so you can see the reading. Okay, so once again, I'm going to touch the center, then I'm going to touch the side. And so we're getting about 2.0. That is definitely, I definitely would consider that roughly a low resistance. I like that it's not super low, that's not 1.5. 1.5 might be a little bit too low. Now these are the replaceable coils, so they're from the replacement pack and the blister pack. Now let's test the one that it came with. So again, I'm just going to probe the center and then the coil, or I'm sorry, the all right, now we're just going to let the value stabilize. Yeah, but the most consistent I'm getting is roughly 2.8 ohms. So we'll say roughly 2.8. That is a bit higher. So there's the possibility that this one is not a low resistance and that this one is. There's also a possibility then that the reviewer who preferred the newer one may have just liked the low resistance. But I'm going to try it out with the cap, the one that it comes with. So I'm going to screw that on here, just so that it's just tight. And then we'll show you how to fill it. Now to fill the Clearomizer, we're going to want to drip it down the center tube. You could try and get it, squeeze it kind of in between, or angle it sort of to the side and drip it down the part here, but realistically you're better off dripping it kind of down the center tube. So kind of dripping some drops onto the center tube and letting it run down the length of the center tube and then collect at the bottom. And also a reminder for pretty much anything, but especially these kind of things, when you tighten stuff, don't go crazy. I mean, don't whip out the muscle for it. You really just want it to stop, you know, finger tight at most. And on that same note, I have heard some complaints that when you're screwing this back on and back off, that occasionally it will actually unscrew this a little bit. So it is a good idea if you are unscrewing it to fill it, to check it just briefly to make sure that this hasn't gotten loose. Just tighten it up pretty much just a little bit finger tight each time you go to do it. That's probably a good idea. So let's grab our liquid and fill it. All right, let's fill her up. So I've got my cappuccino liquid. I've made sure that my cap is on tightly. This is going to be a little bit more difficult, I'm just realizing now, because of this little well in here. When I was originally talking about running it down the side, well, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought, but we'll try it out. So I'm just going to aim it in here. Just kind of dripping it down. It's actually running along the other side also. So I don't want to go overboard. I don't need too much in there. All right, that looks pretty good. And it looks good. I don't see much in the threads. I'm actually not going to worry about clearing out the threads because a little bit of liquid might actually help keep it closed up nicely. All right, tighten just till it's snug. And now let's do a quick little just kind of drip test. Seems okay. I don't feel anything on my fingers, which is good. Very good, actually, considering usually you know that oily feeling. When you get that oily kind of sensation on your fingers, it can be kind of nasty. All right, so now we take our eGo variable voltage. Just gonna thread it in here. and something that I know is often suggested, and that is hold it by the collet at the bottom, the collar at the bottom, and tighten with that. Don't just use the plastic, because then you put tension on the adhesive. You might as well tense up the surface itself that is going to be doing the mating. So anyway, there you go. That's with it attached. This is exceptionally long, my 1000 milliamp hour eGo C-twist. So it's very, very, very long now. It looks like a massive stogie, but this is going to give me great multi-day vaping capability with multi-day liquid, hopefully, if I'm lucky, and variable voltage settings to give me the nice comfortable vape that I'm looking for. And hopefully it works well. Let's give it a try. Okay, I've got the Kanger T2, also known as the eGo changeable coil Clearomizer, attached and loaded here. Let's give it a shot. Right now I'm dialed up to about 3.2 volts. And I can see we've given it a nice tip, and there's some liquid sitting in here ready to be vaporized. And let's give it a shot. Ooh, hit my throat really fast, so I gotta get accustomed to this. Not getting much vapor yet. Some strong throat hit, but nothing crazy yet. I'm actually gonna go ahead and dial it up right away, because I feel like it's almost too much liquid and it's not vaporizing it fast enough. So I'm gonna dial it up to 4. We're gonna try that. Okay. Four is definitely nice. I do like 4. I can really taste it. It's amazing. I can really taste a lot more than with the disposable cartomizers I was using previously. The flavor comes out much more strongly. Yeah, 4 gives a really nice hit. Good amount of throat. Smooth, flavorful. Now for shits and giggles, let's move it all the way up to 4.8. 4.8, it's usually high for me. It usually starts tasting burnt, especially if you have the low resistance cartridges, but we'll try it and see how it tastes. Whew, yeah, immediate roasty throat hit. I mean, really, really, really strong. Really feel it. The taste starts to taste a little bit like burnt nylon, so I definitely think 4.8 volts on this is a little bit high. I'm gonna go back down to 4 one more time. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's what happens when you run out of e-liquid for a week. Yeah, the flavor, I don't know, actually, it's a little bit, I don't want to say chemically tasting, but it's a little bit nylon tasting. I have a feeling it's probably going to take a couple tanks to break in, really. Yeah, it's gonna take a couple tankfuls, but what I do like about it is the amount of liquid that it's holding. Even though the drip tip is proprietary, I don't mind the feeling of it in your mouth. It's pretty comfortable, and I think it definitely makes my eGo C-twist look a lot more stylish. And this should definitely keep me going for late night gaming sessions and whatnot. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now it's really starting to kick up now. Yeah, about 4 volts. 4 volts seems really nice on this. Now that I'm playing more and more, the flavor's starting to balance out. So I think with a week and the Kanger T2 changeable coil Clearomizer and some cappuccino e-liquid from ivape.net, I'm going to be one happy vapor. So this was Pablo Eduardo with a short review and assembly for the Kanger T2. And if you've got any other questions about this or e-vaping in general, feel free to ask or go to Google and look up your favorite e-cigarette smoking forum. There are plenty of them out there, plenty of people willing to help you get into the world of vaping. Thank you.